To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is the Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Sean Whittington. I'm a seminarian in the United States Old Catholic Church, and I'm coming to you live from my haunted house, my very haunted house. And it's been quiet today, so let's hopefully it stays that way. But listen, let me just throw this out there to you guys. Every week after I do a show, I get people that reach out to me and say, "Did I heard this during your broadcast at and I saw this during your broadcast behind you. If you see anything or hear anything odd while I'm engaged with my guests and I'm not paying attention, let me know." You always want to, oh, there we go. My dream catcher is spinning. There's no fans on in here. The vent is closed off. AC and heater vent is closed off. And that is a dream catcher that was gifted to me by a chief of a nearby tribe here in the Clark County as a gift for coming and helping work a case on their reservation. And now I'm getting the chills. So someone's here to watch the show probably wants to properly welcome my guest today, who you all know who she is. You all love her and respect her like I love her and respect her. She's in the green room. I'll bring her right out. But thank you all so much for tuning in, spending an hour out of your busy Friday afternoon to hang out with me and my guest. Let's check the prayer urn. Everybody wants to know what the prayer urn is. It's a real antique ashes urn, yeah. It has no ashes in it, but I fell in love with it at a Paracon many years ago, and it was up for bid, and I bid on it, and I got it, and so I keep prayers in there. So whatever's attached to it must look like that because uh, things calmed down after I started putting prayers in the prayer urn. James K. from Texas. I'm struggling with the recent loss of a pet. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, James. Can you offer up a prayer for all suffering pet owners and their pets? Yes, I can do that. And you know who I'm thinking of? Maybe I can find a nice prayer to St. Anthony, because I believe it was just this past Tuesday was the feast of St. Anthony. I know everybody thinks of St. Francis when it comes to the animals. And yes, he is the patron saint of animals. My buddy St. Francis. Everybody knows I'm a vet tech when I'm not doing the minister thing. Um, so, yeah, but St. Anthony is also associated with the animals. So I'll just say a nice prayer to St. Anthony for James. I'd like to offer up this prayer for James in Texas and for all of you out there suffering from the loss of a pet. I am included in that club. So, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Holy Saint Anthony, gentlest of saints, your love for God and charity for his creatures made you worthy, even on earth, to possess miraculous powers. Miracles waited on your word, which you were ever ready to speak for those in trouble or anxiety. Encouraged by this thought, I implore you to obtain for me my request. The answer to my prayer may require a miracle. Even so, you are the saint of miracles. O gentle and loving Saint Anthony, whose heart is ever full of human sympathy, whisper my petition into the ears of the sweet infant Jesus, who loved to be enfolded in your arms, and the gratitude of my heart will be ever yours. Amen. Hang in there, James. I feel for you, brother. You will see your pet again. You can ask my bishop. He'll tell you animals go to heaven. I know they do. And you will see your beloved pets again one day. Okay, let's check the Paranormal Ministry mailbag. Deborah H. from Oklahoma. Oklahoma, my dad's from Oklahoma. May he rest in peace, but he was born and raised in Oklahoma. I collect antiques. Uh-oh. I'm also gifted I'm also gifted a lot of antiques. I think some of my antiques may have spiritual attachments. I may have an issue with these objects. Suggestions. Okay, stop buying antiques. I kid. Be careful buying antiques and be careful receiving gifts that are of antiquity. Uh, I, I I have many of them here, and many of them do have attachments. Okay, if you're having real issues with them and you think some of the you've narrowed it down to what objects may be causing some severe issues of a spiritual nature in your own, then you need to get rid of them. Sorry, you just do. If you don't want to get rid of them, then you have to, at the very least, bind them. But you don't have to do all that crazy stuff you see on TV, putting them under glass and all that sort of stuff. I do this, and it works for me. It may not work for everybody, but where I'm going to put, I handle these objects with gloves on, for starters. Second, where I'm going to set it, I lay down a cloth that I've prayed over. I lay some blessed salts down, sprinkle a little holy water down, and then before I lay the item on this cloth, I smoke it out real good with blessed incense or sage, sweetgrass, Palo Santo wood. Smoke it out real good, lay it on there. Then I pray over that item and then sprinkle some more salt, some maybe even some holy oil and some more holy water on it. And then I don't mess with it anymore. I don't clean and polish it, rub it, mess with it, move it around a lot. And that seems to work for me, not for everybody. But I am guilty of having gotten rid of some things that after I did that didn't seem to help. And once I figured out what was happening was probably attached to this particular item, I did I did get rid of them. Um, so that's a great question. I think I'm going to both of these questions. Animals, because I know my guest um, has had a life full of animals herself, and she's a paranormal enthusiast. So I'm going to ask her about the attachment thing too, and see what her opinion is. But if there's anything you want to know about my wife and I and our ministry work, go to our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. When you go there to visit, remember, my wife and I, we don't charge for our ministry work, helping people with their paranormal issues. So, brothers and sisters, trust me, I know that times are tough. But if you notice the donate button and you're able to do so, click on it and send our ministry in a small donation. I promise you it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts, and trust me, we'll put it to good use. In addition to being an ordained exorcist, I'm also a certified spiritual advisor. So, if you're having issues of a spiritual nature, not necessarily attached to the paranormal, and you'd like to speak to me about that, there's a place on the website where you can make an appointment to speak with me. But don't leave the website without navigating over to the page called the WSE course/book. On that page, you'll find the Ghost Store. In the Ghost Store, you'll find all kinds of cool things to purchase if you go for that sort of stuff. And everything that you purchase there, part of the proceeds, go to many things that I donate to. But scroll down past the Ghost Store, and you'll see my new haunted autobiography, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry. And I quote, scariest book I ever published. That was Annette Munich, owner of Stellium Books, my publisher. But don't let that scare you off of purchasing a copy. If you haven't done your good deed for the day yet, part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my book goes to support stjude.org, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada, and the ASPCA. So it's a no brainer. You get to help some of the neediest children on the planet and the animals too. How cool is that? You can get the book a little less expensive at Amazon, but you can purchase it off of the website, and that book will come to you autographed by yours truly, enclosed in a beautiful house blessing kit. And another thing I want to throw out to you guys. I'm getting a lot of this. Page 198 of my book, if you already have it. bottom picture. Young child. We're not sure if it's a boy or a girl. I caught that entity on film investigating an abandoned location out in the middle of the Mojave Desert. The docents asked my wife and I to come in there and investigate. And since I captured that photo and put it in this book, a lot of my author's copies sit here in my office. And when I send them out to people, some of the people that have gotten my book from me that have left my office have reported seeing that apparition in their homes after receiving the book. It's not malevolent, but I find that amazing, and I want to hear your story. Let me know if you've purchased my book and you've had some paranormal, and my publisher could write a book on all the paranormal activity she experienced even editing this book. But if you are one of those people, I want to hear your story. Your story may end up in a book or a show, or you never know where it might end up if you reach out to me and let me know what your issues were with the book if you got it. But thought I would just throw that out there. And it's a great time to get the book and get all caught up because God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry 2, Chronicles of an American Exorcist, comes out very shortly. And I bring a lot of closure to some of the cases that I left open-ended in the first book, and you can get all caught up before the second book comes out. Okay, scroll down a little bit further. You'll see the Worldwide Society of Exorcists, which I'm a founding member. I offer a 12-week online college-level course, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare, through the WSE. And this course is for all you true warriors for Christ out there that feel a calling and a longing to want to have more knowledge when it comes to drawing your line in the sand, making a stand, circling the wagons, putting up a good fight against, God forbid, true evil if it ever comes calling. That's the course for you. No, it's not going to teach you how to be an exorcist. That's a completely different calling. But this will tell you how I see the deliverance ministry and how I see battling the demonic and malevolent entities through my eyes and my experiences. All my students that graduate get a stunning diploma, a certificate of completion, suited for framing, along with some other very special blessed gifts that you can only get from yours truly. So you can enroll in the course there at the website. If you want more information about the course before making that type of commitment, there is a Worldwide Society of Exorcists Facebook page. Or just call me, reach out to me, and we can talk about the course to see if it's right for you. Most importantly, please keep all of my former, current, and future students in your prayers. Thank you very much. Okay, the moment has come why you all tuned in. I love her. I respect her. She's super cool. You all know her and love her and respect her too. She's Scottish, but she's currently residing with her English husband, who's got a little Scots in him too, in England. And she's a witch, a cool witch. She's a paranormal enthusiast, psychic medium, and just really cool. So please welcome to the show the one and only Wendy Hollins.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Sean, I'm just wondering, am I going to get travel pay for all this week?
You know what?
You've taken me to Australia now
I'm glad you brought that up because this is a great time for me to tell people donations have been down. So unfortunately, I can't afford to pay Zach anything this week. But if the donations pick up a little bit, maybe I can work something out.
No, wait a minute. You're not going to pay me this week? Man, I quit. I'm out of here.
See what I have to put up with, Wendy. Wendy,
it's nice to have someone on site.
I'm just going to shut up and let you talk because I'm in love with the Scottish accent.
Oh, thank you.
I have some Scots in me, believe it or not. And I know Scots are going, Whittington? That's not Scottish. That's right. That's English. But I did my ancestry background thing, and I even sent you a question asking you about some of your ancestry. I'm really into that. And I had this French knight with the last name of Le Fleming that left, he got out. He was apparently belonged to some religious type sect, maybe the Templars. I'm not sure, but he got out of France, made his way to Scotland, and it's rumored that he had a lot of very valuable religious relics with him. And he
Wow.
settled in northern Scotland, and he started Clan Douglas. And Clan Douglas, as you know, was huge, and they married in and out of a lot of other famous Scots families, the Stuarts being one of them. But there was a branch off of that family that became Clan Whittingham, and then the Whittinghams migrated south and into England, and they eventually became Clan Whittington and then the Whittingtons. But I have a family castle there, Whittington Castle in
Wow.
Shropshire, England, which I plan to visit one day. But if I come out there, I'm planning a 25th wedding anniversary, and you've got a 30th wedding anniversary coming up here soon, if my
Yeah.
notes tell me correctly. But I'm planning a 25th wedding anniversary trip to England, Ireland, and Scotland. You're going to be in the top of the list of people I reach out to
Oh, yeah,
when I get
definitely.
there
That
to
would
see
be
if we can hook
ace.
up. But tell me a
Yeah.
little bit. I have people that have said, "Oh, how cool you're having Wendy on," and they want to know a little bit what you sent to me, the little bit you sent to me in that note you sent back about your background. Introduce everybody a little bit to you, and I'm interested in hearing a little bit about your background.
Right. Well, I'm from a little place called Bowness, and it's in between Edinburgh and Glasgow. When the time that I was brought up, my family were very religious, and I would go to church every week and Sunday school and everything. But at that time, we'd moved house. We'd just moved house, and I must have only been 6 or 7 at the time. And I moved into a haunted house. But I didn't know what it was at the time. And I was seeing all these things, and I'd go to my family, and they would say, "Don't tell lies," and I would get a row for it. So eventually I stopped saying anything. But then I started sleepwalking, and I would end up all over the place with all my bedding. I took all my bed with me. I went in style. And from there it grew. From, say, about the age of 12 to 14, I really started reading all the books, and I started tarot, but it was with playing cards, and I loved it. It just felt natural. I don't know if it's come down the lines in my family, because we've got like Hamilton, Simpson, loads of offshoots. So we go all over the place in Scotland. At the moment, my family are in the Canary Islands, Australia, America, and Scotland. The very top of Scotland and the central region is where we're from. My daughter, Emma, who's my middle child, she's taken to it as well. And I've had to help her sort a few things out and show her that my main thing is to show her that she can be in control of it. And I never ever said I don't believe you. I've always been there for them. If they believe they've seen something, then I will say, right, let's go and see what this is. We've kind of moved around a little bit because our families are all over the place. We were in Colchester, and London. That's where I met my husband. 27 years later.
You've got to tell me, how does a Scottish woman manage to happily stay married and start a family with an Englishman?
I'm not quite sure on that one yet. And you can hear my husband laughing at the side there because, yeah, it gets very difficult when the rugby's on. I think we should watch it in different rooms. We can be quite competitive when it comes to things like that.
Um, I
And
I think it's I was kidding actually with you. I find that amazing. And I think the what I love about you also is you're very whatever is going on between you and I right now. It's the conversation is taking on a life of its own because you're already just answering a lot of questions that are in my mind that I wanted to talk to you about. Every week, week in, week out, I get, and I'm not psychic. I'm gifted to a certain degree, um, but I'm not psychic medium like you. And I get people that reach out to me all the time who suspect their children are gifted and they don't know how to handle it. So this is a two-part question for you, and please take your time. The first part is, do you think your family was telling you don't lie, don't tell stories? Because I don't know very many Irish, Scottish, or English people that don't believe in ghosts. Because your country is considered one of the most haunted countries in the world.
yeah,
I don't know many Scots, Englishmen, or Irish that don't believe in ghosts. So do you think they were frightened and thought that let's try and just out of sight, out of mind.
yeah.
Let's just not talk about it. And then now that the way that you were brought up, and now that you have your own children, and one you feel could be gifted, and if you feel that, I guarantee she probably is. Um, I think it's beautiful how you're handling it, and I get people all the time. Talk to the parents out there that have reached out to me all the time, wanting to know how they should handle this because they don't want their child to go out and be made fun of, be ridiculed, not have any friends, have parents of their friends say, "Don't hang around with little Susie, she's a whack job." Um, and I understand it all, but sometimes I feel like because I don't have any children that I know of, that and I'm not a psychic medium. Sometimes I feel like, I wish I could advise you better, but let me introduce you to so and so, and I'm surprised I haven't sent anybody your way yet. But I usually find somebody that gifted like you that I send these people to. So address both those those aspects, the way you were raised and why you think you were raised that way, and now how you've turned it around and how you approach it with your own child.
Well, my family, as I say, was ultra religious, and my dad was very, very strict. And there was a lot of other things going on in the house, which I didn't think helped the energy of the house because from day one, from walking through the door when I was young, I didn't like it. And when I got older, I equated that to like the Amityville house, but not the stuff that you see in the Hollywood films, just the feeling that you got in there. Not I don't know when I ever got a good night's sleep. And when they turned the light off, that was it. My head was under the pillow, pulled my quilt up, but that didn't help. But I think you've just got to believe your children because at a young age, they're not going to lie and say, oh, there's someone standing there when there isn't. I don't think personally. To everybody out there, I think you've just got to really sit down and tell them that they're special. They've been gifted for a reason. And when they're just keep talking to them about it, read as many books as you can on the subject. I don't have any personal ones that I would go to for that, but I just explain it to them in children's terms, but I wouldn't scare them. That is the main aim. And just say some people can see these things and some people can't. So we only talk about it with the people that can. Yeah. And your parents. Yeah. Because you start picking up on things, and I think it's very difficult to be going down a road and you don't know what's going to happen, and you're seeing things, and it's always when you're by yourself.
Absolutely.
It's never when the family are around. And
well, another thing you and I have in common is that my wife, when her and I met, there was an instant connection, and she was very passionate about the paranormal too. And I know that you and your husband have done some ghost busting and ghost hunting together, which I think that's very cool. I mean, and you had mentioned it was just my husband and I going around to haunted locations. It was the same with us. We had a team once, but once we started working more darker, more malevolent cases,
yeah,
we started worrying about our team members, and we didn't want to be responsible for anything bad happening to any of our team members. So we eventually got away from having a team, and it was just her and I. But that's another thing that you and I have in common, which is, I think, before I forget, and I don't want the hour to run up and then I forget to mention it. And there's a reason why I'm going to mention this right now. I'm going to mention the 4 Facebook pages that you have. And then I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to have you tell me what page you should have people go to. Your original page was Spiritual Medium Wendy Hollins.
Yeah, that's for my tea leaves.
Then you have The Magic Within with Wendy.
That one's for anybody that's struggling with gifts, because it can happen at any age. And if anybody's struggling, just come along, and if I can help, I will.
That was going to be my next question. So yes, everybody, all the families out there that I've recently heard from about your children, and I also hear from a lot of people saying, I see ghosts, or lots of ghosts come to me, and I don't think I'm psychic, but maybe I am. What should I do? Those people too, all of you out there that have reached out to me with that type of question and issue, go to that site. That is The Magic Within with Wendy. You'll see I love that picture too. The broom's up against that old, probably a castle door. Do you think?
Yes,
Oh, that's
definitely.
wonderful. Then you have Road to Victory, or I'm sorry, Road to Discovery,
Yeah,
which is another page, and I see my buddy Martin Ali down there.
yeah. The
Then
Road
you
to
also
Discovery, sorry,
go ahead.
is also a page where we do different topics to help people come to terms with things. We do, if people have seen UFOs, we have specialists that come in and talk, and we've had filmmakers and paranormal investigators, and it's again a page that we help people with. So it's another way to help them.
Very, very good. Very, very good. God bless you for that. And then, of course, the biggie, Lincolnshire Spirit Seekers, which has a number of different groups attached to that name. But also, you guys, you and Martin have the show. I've been on the show. I had a great time. Let everybody know where and when they can see that show that you and Martin put on.
Lincolnshire Spirit Seekers. We have a show on a Sunday night at 8:30, and it's all different people. And for the life of me, I have it written down somewhere, but I don't know who the guest is on Sunday. We have different offshoots of Lincolnshire Spirit Seekers, and they all have different things going on. USA, Scotland, and the Netherlands, they all have their different. We want to see as many haunted locations around the world And we're also promoting para-unity in the hope that we can get the bullying and some of the nastiness that is out in the field at the moment. We want to like help others that have maybe come up against that as well. And we want to be able to, you know, if build a database of these haunted locations and find out what's actually going on in each location, because we only get a snapshot of time when we go to these locations, and sometimes they can be very quiet. So yeah, and Lincolnshire Spirit Seekers is my main page with Martin, Ali, and I also go out investigating with Bob Sharp and my husband William Hollands and my daughter Emma Hollands. So it's a bit of a family that we have going there. We're all very close, and it's really nice, as I am with Kathleen Thomas and Emma Sanderson. We call ourselves the Sanderson sisters after Hocus Pocus. So if you ever come on and I'm called Winifred, that's why.
Okay, you led right into my next question. This is another two-part question. In my travels, I've only met one person that just was amazing with you mentioned tarot earlier, and then you mentioned doing it with regular cards. I've never seen that. But I've only met one person who was amazing with the tea leaves. So I'll ask you about the tea leaves here in a second. I also met a person once who was amazing casting bones. It was a little tiny. I never asked her what the bones belonged to, but it was pretty amazing. Her gift with that. But let me ask you this: I've never met a witch. I have lots of friends who are witches. I've never met a witch that's got this big, huge nose and the wart on the end of it, who's flying around on the broom. It's got the big cauldron, and you know, casting spells to hurt people and stuff. I never in my lifetime. Now, do I believe there's people out there that pervert religions, even in the Catholicism? Yes, I do believe people are out there that pervert their religious belief and they turned it into something ugly. But dispel to people this belief, this some people, and Scotland's got, you know, witch graves, and they had a big Scotland and England too, just like
they
Salem
had
here. They had the witch hunt. Tell people that, you know, about you and this whole, that what they think of the witch is not that, and then talk a little bit about the tea leaves.
To be honest, I started off in spiritualism in my teenage years. And I always felt that there was something missing. It just didn't fit quite right. So I started reading about witches, Wicca, and it grew and grew through the 80s. And I decided that I was going to do this, to get the cauldron and everything like that. And what people don't realize is it's a very peaceful religion. You know, there isn't all these like dark spells going on. And I tend to watch, I always say, you know, harm none. Even a small animal, anything, even a fly or a bee, I get my husband to catch them and throw them out the window. It's a very love-based religion for nature, for animals, everything. I use herbs, I use candles, I have an altar, and it's just herbs and bread and salt, and you know, you just feel quite peaceful and it's very personal as well. And I just felt I was complete. And I'm still learning all these years later. There's still different things that I'm looking at and wanting to achieve. I don't do things by half. I don't know if it's my nature. I always try and see things through to the best that I can be. For my tarot, I got distinction. For my palmistry, I got distinction. And for my flower psychometry, I got distinction. So I'm always looking at different ways to adapt my readings, because you never know when they can help someone.
Absolutely.
I do worship the nature, the seasons, and I always feel very peaceful and very calm afterwards, after I've lit my candles and given my offering. Then as you can see behind, I have got quite a few tarot card sets. I think I must have about 40, 50 sets now. I kind of hoard them. And then I decided I'd like to try tea leaves, and I went on a course. And it just felt like I'd been doing it forever.
Do you have a favorite? Do you
Yeah,
have a gift that's that you're most comfortable with?
yes, definitely the tea leaves. And I make my own blend as well. It's all
Really?
natural. Yeah, different teas and things in it. I've got 90 cups, and I'm always looking. I think I've got one coming from America at the moment, from a lady that I've done a reading with. And I just love the connection with spirit when I'm doing my tea leaves. It's purely natural, and I always try to help the person that comes. I try to be very positive in the way I say anything. I never, especially when we're online, I never try to do any, negative or anything like that, because it comes back on you. If you give out negativity, you're going to get it right back
Yeah,
times
absolutely.
3. And I am quite happy to be in my positive little bubble, with my family and my zoo that I do have. Um, it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I keep saying no more. And then the kids go, "Can I?" And it's like, okay. But yeah, the
I
tea
better
leaf.
ask Zach if I'm in trouble for something.
No, actually, Wendy, I have a question for you. Monday is the Lunar New Year. Can you explain to me what that is?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, it's the Chinese. Obviously, there's the Chinese New Year, and the Lunar New Year is the start of this year's moon cycles.
You
Yeah.
know, it's funny. Today
Um,
is one I think it's going to be Monday, and I was already looking in advance. It's like 1/23/23,
yeah.
and to me, I'm not seeing the 23. I'm seeing the 2 and then the 3, and then I looked them both up on my chart and saw that it was all both were very good. So I was looking forward to Monday being a great day. But that was a
Yeah.
great question from Zach. The Lunar New Year.
It's I tend to light either a white candle or a silver candle, and just have a little bit salt and some oil on the candle as well to bless the candle. And I do that most months on the full moon. but this is like the start of a new year, because in well, as we call it, Halloween, that's the witch's new year. It's the start of a new year. We're bringing in, wanting the sun to come back to replenish the ground so things can start growing again.
Let me ask you this.
Thank you.
You're welcome, brother. That was a great question, Zach. Every once in a while, he pops in with a great question. I know what I want to ask you. You mentioned zoo, and I knew there was a reason why I held on to this question that came into me from James K. in Texas about struggling with the recent loss of a pet. And I know you are a former equestrian.
Yeah.
I guess you call it teacher or
I
rider.
was.
I find that that part of your background amazing. I can never remember in my life not having an animal, whether it's always been dogs. I've always had dogs in my life, but there's been cats and there's plenty of them now. But there's been lots of things. And and I work at an animal hospital when I'm not doing this. I'm a minister 24/7, but I do have a day job and I'm a veterinary technician. But it's the Mastiff I have now is my last, and I'm thinking probably won't get another animal after she goes to heaven, because I am that guy that I'm done. When I lose a pet, I'm rolling around on the floor, talking and speaking in tongues. I'm done for days. And it's just, the hurt is too much for me anymore at my age to continue to go through it.
Yeah.
Speak to you and horses. Oh my gosh. Speak to the people about the animal, the connection with us and animals, especially if you're a very spiritual person like me or you, and getting over the loss of a pet.
I find that the loss, I'm like you, I am terrible for weeks, really. Every time I open the door, I can see the dog running towards me, and I'm heartbroken.
Yeah.
Personally, they are loving and loyal to us while they're here. And I've got pictures of all my animals, past and present, around the house. And we talk about them. We keep them alive. Our first dog, he was absolutely amazing. My children used to roll on top of him, and he was the one that we brought the children back, and he would like look at them and go, "Not another one." But I think it teaches children to be responsible when they have to look after something.
Absolutely.
And keep it alive, keep it clean. All my children, for my sins, have animals, and they cost a fortune. We have a horse at the moment who hasn't been very well, but we have managed to keep her happy and pain-free. We have another horse that's not broken in yet, and I just haven't got the courage to get on anymore. I don't bounce as I used to. I've been off many a time.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel the need to get thrown halfway across the riding arena. Then I've got a snake. Well, I haven't personally got the snake. My youngest.
I think it's very rude to talk about your husband like that while he's sitting right there.
Yeah. He's laughing because I've got an absolute phobia about snakes.
I do too.
I just, the minute they say they're going to bring it out the cage or it's out, it's vivarium, I'm off. It once got out, not that one, but a smaller one. And I basically said, right, I'm going to a 5-star hotel until it's found. I didn't get to the 5-star hotel, sadly, because by the time I found out that it was out, it was back in. So luckily, my husband and my child survived. I've got a dog, a cat, fish, ferrets, and I've got a crested gecko and birds.
Birds, yeah. I've had all of those. Well, different type of reptiles, not exactly like the ones you've had, but in my life I've experimented and have, as kids are, you go through that phase. But I always settled back on, I don't hate any of them, but I always settled back on the dogs. I'm just an over the top dog person, always have
Oh
been.
yes, I mean,
Let me
since
ask you this. I'm gonna feel really bad if I don't ask you this because I joke around with my wife all the time about, when I retire, she should be retired. She won't. She's a workaholic. But if we can ever do fully go into retirement, I always have these fantasies about moving to the UK. And she's all too cold for me, so I guess you and I will be having a long distance marriage. Um, but let me ask you this about the paranormal. Your country, England, right first would say of the three of the UK and Ireland, we are the most haunted. But you ask somebody from Scotland, they'll say no, it's us. You ask somebody from Ireland, no, it's
yeah,
us. But like three distinctively different, and it's funny that you're from Scotland, you're now in Ireland, you're a paranormal enthusiast. You talk to people from Ireland, and the hauntings there are so elemental in nature.
yeah,
You
very,
got the fairies and the leprechauns and all that. But you Scotland, there's a lot of the ghosts are very noisy and can be violent, and then you have the spirits in England are so traditionally English. You either just see the head or you just see the body with no head. And somebody will joke and say because they lopped off a lot of heads back in the day. So
yeah,
talk to me about, in your humble opinion, which you think is the most haunted of the three.
Scotland.
Can you leave us with the? I've got about a good 5 minutes left with you, maybe a little bit more. Can you tell us a good ghost story, either one you've heard or one you personally experienced, or maybe a place you went that you'll never forget from Scotland as just being just an off the charts good
Yeah,
ghost
yeah.
story?
We'd gone to visit a country park in Eglinton in South Ayrshire or East Ayrshire. It was thereabouts. And I wasn't the medium in charge that night. It was the lady that I'd sat in circle with. And she's only little. She was only like 4 foot something. And my husband, he's nearly 6 foot, and so was the other gentleman that we were with. And there was a big crowd of us, and we'd gone about the country park, and we'd picked up different eras and different EVPs and things like that. Anyway, we get to this tunnel, and all I can hear in my head is get out, get out, get out. So when something's telling me to get out, I normally, right, that's it. I'm going now. Anyway, the more experienced lady had gone on ahead, and it was a really dark tunnel. I don't know actually quite what it was used for, but she'd gone ahead, and as she turned, I was getting this screaming at me, get out in my head. And I told everybody, you know, be careful. There's something quite powerful in here. Well, I'd only had that out my mouth for 5 minutes, and the lady flew at me. And whatever was in there had taken a great dislike to me. And my husband and the gentleman that we were with could not keep her in, they couldn't hold on to her. So all you see is me having to run out the tunnel and up this hill while this old lady was trying to strangle me, basically.
Wow.
And it just came out the blue. We'd had such a lovely night. We're getting loads of evidence, and then it turned a bit darker.
Yeah.
And she couldn't remember. And I said, you know, you were like a banshee. If she could have like jumped on me, she would have. Luckily, I was a lot taller than her. But that was quite a scary night because she just came out of the darkness and ran at me. I was like, oh.
And here you were trying to be, you know, I watch some of these shows occasionally. You hear a person say, if you don't want us here, throw something or touch one of us or knock on the wall. Well, then something's thrown or someone's touched or there's a knock on the wall and they don't leave. You don't really know what you're up against. So I'm a big fan of respecting the location and more importantly respecting the spirits. And when I'm told to get out, I'm like you. I get out, you know, respect, you know,
Yeah.
the request to get out. But let me ask you something about being gifted. I've lost track about how many times I've gone on back in the day when I did a lot of ghost hunting and ghost busting. How many times somebody who what we didn't know was gifted and probably wasn't gifted, but got, a friend of mine likes to use the term being jumped, got jumped by a spirit and momentarily taken over. But that comes very easy to happen to gifted people, spiritually gifted people, psychic people like you. How do you what do you do to prevent that from happening all the time? Because you look way different to spirit than I look, and they're going to target you. Um, how do you
Pray.
yeah, oh, you just do a lot of praying.
Yeah. And I also wear crystals. I've got my pentagram. And I also have a lot of sage. Never leave home without it because I've sage myself as well. But yeah, I do a lot of prayers and I make sure that everyone that goes out on the investigation are all involved in the prayer at the start to keep everyone safe.
You know what I'm in love with right now? I'm in love with I'm in love with Palo Santo wood. I get it by the
Yeah.
bagloads, and I'm also in love with. Have you ever used sage dipped in dragon's blood?
No, I've heard of that though.
Oh my
I know
gosh,
someone who stocks it.
uh, phenomenal, phenomenal. And I break that out. Of course, when I go into a place where there's a suspected presence of a malevolent nature there, I bring the blessed incenses. So I've got the incenses going, but
Yeah.
I've had really good results clearing places with the sage dipped in dragon's blood and the Palo Santo wood. I just love that, and the
Oh
smell of
yeah.
that too
It's
is
lovely. I
yeah.
have it going round my house. I
Yeah.
actually, because of the energy in my work, I actually cleanse my house quite a lot and put blessed salt down on doors and windows. So, and I only allow spirit in that are invited to come, and they're only allowed to come to a certain place because they're not roaming my house. I'm too old for that now to wake up and there's someone standing there. No, so Yeah. I've got a lot wiser as I've got older. And I do use a lot of sage and Palo Santo, and I do prayers. I mean, lots and lots of prayers to keep everyone safe. And people see it as negativity, witches, but we're not. There's
know you're
always
not.
going to
I
be
know
the
you're.
bad,
I
the
know when I
bad
first met
few.
you that you were a beautiful soul, and I couldn't wait for us to have this talk today
Oh,
and
I've
introduce you to
enjoyed
my.
it. I was a bit nervous at the start, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
No reason to be, and I'll have. Did you have fun when you come back?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you'll have me, I'll come back.
Tell you what we'll do. When we now officially have it, and I know that you're not just saying it because you're Scottish, but we officially have you proclaiming Scotland to be the most haunted country in the UK. When I have you back, maybe I'll do you and your husband together, um, and you guys can tell everybody how you know. People ask me all the time, how do you and your wife are so successful as a husband and wife paranormal team? I don't know why I get that question a lot because maybe there's a lot of husband and wives that
I
wouldn't
think
just
it
couldn't see
helps.
themselves doing that. I think it helps, if they're anything that you're both passionate about and good at
Yeah,
together and work at it together. I think makes it a better
I
makes
I
it just better.
believe I believe that you have to work at your marriage sometimes. Um, so making time for a couple, especially when you've got children. I mean, we thought we'd never sleep again um, when our three, but we make time for each other and we respect each other. We don't go to bed on an argument if we can help it. Um, and I've had a lot of depression in my life, and it's only now that I'm a lot better with dealing with things. And my husband's been my rock
Good.
and my soulmate. And if I just wish that everybody could have a relationship like that. I wish there was a lot more people that weren't in the abusive relationships. And I do a
Well,
lot of charity work.
let me finish with saying this to you. You know I love you and respect you. You and your family are on the prayer list. I will continue to pray for you and your family. Keep doing what you do. I will have you back this year a couple of times. Say hi to Martin for me.
I will do.
Um, Best of luck for everything. Feel better. Hang in there. Keep me posted on personal things that we spoke about, how you're doing and stuff. But have a great remainder to your Friday evening, and I'll be in touch.
That's great. Thank you.
Wendy, thank you so much. Good night.
Now,
There you have it. Wendy Holland says Scotland is the most haunted country in the UK. I'm good with that. And see, an Englishman can marry a Scottish woman and they can be happily married with children for almost 30 years. What am I doing here? Okay. Oh, I forgot to ask her about the psychic fair she's going to have. The 11th of February, there in her neck of the woods, her neighborhood, a big psychic fair. Go to one of her Facebook pages. It's posted all over there, and you can find out if you're in that neck of the woods. I will be here this Monday. Oh, you're going to love her. You already, guys, love her. This Monday, January 23rd, psychic portrait artist Angela Bolee will be here. Enough said. I just dropped the mic. All right, guys. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. I don't have a show without you guys. Thank you to my co-producers, Zach and Adrian Clayton. Couldn't do the show without them. CommunityPayItForward.us. CommunityPayItForward.us. Go there. Find somebody that needs some help. And if you can help them, help them. My church, the USOCC.org. USOCC.org. If you're interested in my church, finding out about it, go there. Um, If you're interested in night prayer, which is every weeknight at 7 p.m. Pacific, or Bible study, which is every Wednesday afternoon and Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. Pacific, go to bishopjameslong.com. bishopjameslong.com. Scroll down to the bottom of his homepage. Both links to both of those are there. And thank you to Things Network. Thank you to Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment. Thank you to Skeleton Key Network. Thank you to PACT, little p, capital ACT, Podcasting for All Coming Together channel, for all of these networks simulcasting my show. God bless you all for doing that. And it is bad joke time. I'm going to pull a bad joke that one of you sent in out of this haunted carnival barker hat. And it's my poor attempt to put a smile on everybody's face before I say good night and have a great weekend. Why should you never eat a clock? Because it's too time consuming. Good night, Danny. Good night, Jack. Good night, Dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. I love you all. You're all on the prayer list. Peace.